In the thrilling year of 1911, a seismic revelation reverberates across Europe and the world. The magnificent Grand Incan city at Machu Picchu has been unearthed. Anticipation surges as many predict a tidal wave of tourists flooding into the enchanting region of Peru. Meanwhile, amidst the ongoing humiliations faced by France, a shocking development occurs. The infamous Mona Lisa is brazenly stolen, dealing a profound blow to the French government. However, the drama doesn't end there. Brace yourselves, for there is more sensational news on the horizon. The Russian Prime Minister is set to face an assassination attempt. In response, the Russian Empire initiates a partial mobilization, led by their new Prime Minister, Count Vladimir Nikolaevich Kokovtsov. He emphatically declares that the crime will be thoroughly investigated by the Russian armed forces. With tensions escalating, apprehensions mount as many fear the possibility of another Agadir crisis looming on the horizon. In a parallel universe of news, the Kingdom of Portugal witnesses the election of a dynamic new Prime Minister who swiftly forges alliances with the far right, intensifying their collective effort against the Republicans in the ongoing civil war. Antonion de Oliveira. Salazar wastes no time in making it unequivocally clear that those deemed traitors to Portugal will face both the wrath of God and the pursuit of justice. Come September 1911, tensions escalate within the Austro-Hungarian Empire as a controversial bill emerges, aiming to eliminate nationalist elements in the Transylvanian region. While the Hungarian Ministry for Interior Affairs insists this is not an oppressive move, critics argue that it may be an attempt to eradicate Romanian culture. In Romania, activists are already calling for action by the king, viewing it as a direct threat to their cultural identity. The demise of the Monist government unfolded with its setbacks in Agadir, paving the way for a new leader at the helm of the French government, Joseph Caillaux. A renowned social liberal with strong ties to the industrialists of the Third Republic, Caillaux is perceived as a man of compromises. His resounding message echoes the importance of maintaining peace as long as France avoids isolation. However, with the Russian mobilization casting a shadow, many pondered whether the Prime Minister's conciliatory stance would persist. In Portugal, Operation Vermelho, ignited as kingdom forces, launched a large-scale offensive against their Republican adversaries. The Portuguese Republic swiftly sought aid from Britain to counter the rising influence of the far right in the kingdom. Britain, however, responded with caution, emphasizing the necessity of a compromise peace involving all great powers. As Prime Minister Luzzati of the Italian kingdom stepped down, a seasoned figure entered the stage. Giovanni Giolitti, rumored to have been the mastermind behind Luzzati's government, assumed the role of the new PM. He swiftly found himself entangled in conflicts with the Ottoman Empire. Diplomatic tensions escalated as both states traded insults and engaged in conflicts over their respective colonial failures. In Luxembourg, a new figure emerged, a man of the people, a man of the right, a true Luxembourger. Fernand Blagins assumed the role of Prime Minister of the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, and the news carried significant implications. Despite hopes that the small duchy might align itself with either France or the German Empire as an autonomous region, PM Blagins had a different vision. He unveiled a series of youth military programs and conscription initiatives, aiming to forge a Luxembourgian identity distinct from both German and French influences. This bold move from the right-leaning government sent a clear message to neighboring nations that Luxembourg was resolute in its pursuit of independence. In the United States of America, reactionary ideas gained traction as the nation turned inward, contemplating radical changes in its political landscape. Meanwhile, in the Southern Hemisphere, Brazil welcomed a new president, Marshal Hermes da Fonseca. Having served as war minister in 1908, he ascended to the leadership of the PRC, easily securing the presidency. Known for his favorable views towards the German Kaiser, Fonseca also expressed a desire to ease restrictions on Brazilian monarchists, sparking speculation about a potential return to the Brazilian monarchy. Amid escalating tensions with Russia, the Central Powers formulated a response. The Austro-Hungarian foreign minister publicly declared that Germany and the Habsburgs would jointly implement a policy of early mobilization in reaction to the Russian mobilization. Fears of a new war in Europe gripped many, prompting intense diplomatic efforts among the great empires of the Old World. In a startling turn of events, French Prime Minister Cailleach found himself embroiled in yet another crisis as he publicly declared that France would refrain from mobilizing. Instead, he asserted a commitment to restoring relations with Britain and actively pursuing a peaceful resolution. While this stance earned him popularity on the global stage, it wasn't mirrored within his French parliamentary counterparts, who labeled the new PM as a coward. This crisis further eroded the fragile stability in Paris. Amidst the intensifying diplomatic efforts, the Russian Empire eventually yielded, shifting their mobilization stance to an early stage. This maneuver averted a crisis as diplomats from the Central Powers, Britain, and the Russian Tsardom managed to negotiate a compromise. However, this resolution came at a cost, as the Russians raised concerns about the mistreatment of Lithuanians in Germany, and in return, secured special autonomy for individuals of Lithuanian descent within the Russian Empire. This development placed significant pressure on Germany, triggering unrest among various minorities. Turning to internal affairs within the German Empire, a notable development unfolded with the announcement of the renowned Field Marshal Hermann von Eichhorn as the new Minister of Defense. This appointment raised hopes for improved coordination between the armed forces and the government. However, these aspirations took a hit as a significant mismanagement of research funds occurred within the empire. This blunder eroded trust in the government, leaving a palpable sense of disappointment among the populace. In his new position, Ludendorff continued his critique of the government, a familiar stance. Nonetheless, the Chancellor implemented a series of policies aimed at preventing a recurrence of the mismanagement of research funds for the Reich, a move that garnered positive reception. Adding to the surprises in Germany, Hugo Haas made a momentous decision to step down from his leadership role in the SPD, declaring that his time had come. This departure raised concerns about a potential leftward shift in social democratic politics, with August Bebel now serving as the sole chairman. General von Falkenhayn also made headlines by announcing his affiliation with the NLP party, introducing a new dimension to the evolving political landscape. In a momentous announcement in Berlin, the government revealed the State and Security Act of 1911. This landmark bill signaled the end of paramilitary groups in the Reich, accompanied by severe repercussions for those who failed to comply with the law. Concurrently, the Ministry of Defense accelerated its investments in companies like Mauser, Theodor Bergmann, and Deutsche Waffen- und Munitionsfabriken to address the empire's weapon-related concerns. The SPD newspaper machinery intensified its offensive with a pronounced left-leaning tone, successfully garnering increased support from voters. The party's Congress held in Saxony unveiled new ideals, notably an anti-war stance and a desire to actively participate in the next government. Simultaneously, the NLP published manifestos outlining notably liberal proposals. These included calls for reforms on suffrage, labor rights, and a resolute stance on international peace. While this marked a significant shift for the NLP, some of its voters eventually migrated to the DRP as a consequence. The electoral fervor reached new heights as various parties engaged in vigorous campaigning, with the Zentrum maintaining its established course while unveiling its own program, contributing to the dynamic and competitive political landscape. General Falkenhayn, a high-ranking figure in the German Empire, triggered an international crisis by announcing the deployment of his personal troops to Portugal for humanitarian missions. However, this move resulted in a diplomatic upheaval when the two divisions were captured by the Republican Navy in Portugal. Promptly arrested, Falkenhayn resigned from his post and faced a trial, receiving a relatively mild sentence of imprisonment and expulsion from the military for a period of 1 year. Meanwhile, the vice-chancellor of the DKP retired due to advancing age, but continued to advocate for his Ostplan initiative aimed at boosting the Eastern German economy. Graf Kuno von Westaper assumed the chairmanship of the DKP, although he remained outside the government. The DKP pledged support for the Hollweg coalition, but refrained from joining the government, emphasizing the need for stability until the upcoming elections in 1912. Amid the escalating German-Portuguese crisis, the two divisions held as hostages fueled calls for a diplomatic resolution to the Civil War. However, the Republicans insisted on bringing General Falkenhayn to trial in a Portuguese court, claiming his divisions were supporting the monarchists in the conflict. Tensions heightened further as Austria-Hungary issued explicit threats demanding the renunciation of German troops. In response, they warned of intervention in the Civil War on the side of the monarchists. The Republican forces promptly rejected these demands, setting the stage for an expansion of the conflict in Iberia, with Habsburg troops swiftly arriving in the city of Porto.